Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring.
Where were you born?
2025 Dodge.
And where were your parents?
In the house.
In the house.
Not in the hospital, not anywhere, but in the house, in that certain bedroom. Yeah.
And where were your parents from?
South Carolina, Abbeville, South Carolina. Looking for a better way of life. And the people that were here who had made it from South Carolina, Georgia and North Carolina, when they went back home to visit, they put the word out. Most of the people in Evanston at one time were from South Carolina, Abbeville,
McCormick, Due West.
Yeah, McCormick, Due West.
Anderson.
Mm-hmm. My dad had to get out of there in a hurry. He forget what he was. Oh, he was a carpenter. He was learning to be a carpenter even down there.
And your mom?
She was a domestic.
And what year did they leave?
It's in 1910.
10. He was 1910.
1910.
She was 13.
Yeah.
And how old was he in 1910 when he left?
He was 1920.
20.
He was downtown Abbeville, and he was walking on the sidewalk, and they made him get off the sidewalk. I mean, he had to go out into the road to get by them, and he resented that. I mean, he's spending his money, whatever little bit of money he had, he was as much as they were, and they made him get off, calling the names and your favorite names and all that. And it was all he could do to keep going, because otherwise he would have been dead. He knew that. So he kept going. And a few days later, the word was out. He was going to Atlanta. I mean, he's going to Georgia. He felt that he had to leave, otherwise he'd go get in trouble. He worked whatever he could find, and but he primarily stuck with his carpentry.
And then where did he meet your mom?
He knew her in Abbeville. But as I said earlier, somebody was here. I can't remember
Aunt
who.
Sarah?
Dad's. She was Aunt Sarah. This was his. He didn't have no brothers.
He didn't have no relatives.
He didn't have any brothers or sisters.
No relatives.
But aunt in the black vernacular could be people who were close to your family.
Mm-hmm.
Just a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because I had a
He was an orphan.
Who raised him? How did he?
The neighborhood,
The village.
the village, or whatever. Yeah.
You're living on a plantation. So it ain't like you got a lot of houses to go to.
right.
You got a cookhouse. Nobody lives there. You cook there. Why is that? Because if the cookhouse burns down, you still have somebody to live. But yeah, he was in the quarters. As they call it.
Parents?
My mother had her
twin brother.
Yeah, a brother, right.
She didn't have parents.
And so they lived in Atlanta for a short time, and then they came to Evanston.
Well,
She didn't.
He
She wasn't there.
He was only there for a short time. She didn't. Well, when the word was out, and he.
You knew it was time to get to going.
Mm-hmm.
And did he, when you were a child, did he tell you these stories?
Yes, little bits of it. Little bits of it.
Did he have anger? The
That
situation?
hurt him. That was. This is why he was so hard on us. you're gonna make something of yourself, and you're not gonna be subject yourself to that kind of thing.
Right.
Stand up and be a man.
Right.
Yeah, we had to be in order to get by, in order to be seen. You had to be twice as good as they are. Like
She put him in a rooming house. You remember
Right.
where the gas station was on Green Bay and McCormick? Going toward Lincoln, there was a rooming house
that's right.
next door, and that's where he lived.
And
Yeah.
when did your mom come up?
She came up year or two later.
And they lived in that rooming house, and did they?
No, no,
No, baby.
No.
The Queen, no. He built the house, 2031, Dodge. The house was finished in 1917. They were married in September of 1917. and
Your
moved in there.
grandparents.
That's right.
So he literally built a house to put around his queen.
That's right. What?
Good.
When were
That's
you their
the term,
firstborn,
please.
or how many kids did they have?
No, I was the fifth.
The fifth.
Wait a minute. Boy, girl, boy, girls. And 2 years apart.
Go from oldest to youngest.
Arthur, Mildred, Richard, Beth, Roy. Well, John. Oh, yeah, John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
Yo, yeah.
Don't get lost,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And did he build houses only for people he knew and people in the black community, or was he also working out?
He would build for anybody. It wasn't that, but he had to get started, and who's going to put the word out?
Right.
And what did your mom do? Well, when she was.
She was a domestic.
And where did she work? Do you know? Which?
Yeah, all over the North Shore.
I look at your generation and I think that you guys did so much with so much less than we had, and you did so much more than we could have done with a whole lot less. I wonder, what do you think that has contributed to? You think that's contributed to your upbringing in the South?
Of course. There we.
And where did you go to school?
Foster,
Foster.
the red brick house.
And you also went to Foster?
You didn't have a choice.
So, right.
My first grade teacher was Mrs. Roosman. My fifth grade
My
teacher was
kindergarten,
Miss,
my kindergarten was Miss Roosman.
was it Mrs. Roosman and
Miss
the
Richardson. Miss
Richardson
Richardson.
was the first grade.
Yeah.
Miss Roosman was the kindergarten, and my fifth grade teacher was Miss Taylor.
But no
And-
black teachers.
No.
Oh no.
we
And the
were-
principal?
Pardon?
The
Didn't
principal,
get
why?
black
Black?
janitors
Oh,
for
everything
years.
was white. You're coming. This school was built for
For us.
us. Period.
That's right.
And we had
Haven had black students because there were a lot of black people up along Grant Street and
Right.
Prairie and up around Haven School.
And they had some click. They could get things done. Those to get a black child into one of those schools, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy.
When did you, and then from Foster School, you went there through 8th grade and then you went to ETHS. And then what was it like when you went to ETHS and it was integrated? Totally separate.
Oh no, we had the feeling when we left Foster School, we're going to high school, and we're gonna have to learn how to
Be around
Get along.
white
dance to the music.
Were you afraid? Were you looking
You
forward
had
to
anxiety.
it?
We had each other, backing each other up, but we had our anxiety, and we had to compete with those white kids. Don't come back here and tell me you can't.
And how were you treated by white kids? Were you ignored? Were you included? Were you...
I mixed with the rest of the group, and we got along fine. I didn't have a problem.
And did you go over to each other's houses or?
Some people did,
Nope.
very few,
Right.
because we got to go home and all go to the Y, But no, we didn't. And when one did, he couldn't get back to the community very easy because he was looking down at us. And that was just what it was. I mean,
You accepted it.
hey, we didn't know any different.
Did you
That
ever
go-
feel anger
go
about
anywhere
it?
else, anywhere. That's
No.
the way black folks live. White folks don't want to be bothered with us.
We don't want to be bothered. You go your way, I go mine.
Yeah.
You know, you don't push yourself on somebody. I know I didn't.
Did you ever feel like, well, why do they have things that we don't have?
We accepted what we had.
We had to prove ourselves. We had to be as good as they are.
And what did you guys do after high school, each of you?
I
got
left
a job.
Evanston and went to California. I didn't graduate from ETHS. I graduated from Manual Arts in Los Angeles.
What made you go down to Los Angeles?
I had a child, and I was sent to California.
Right.
And then you stayed in California for,
About 3 years. Came back.
with the child?
My child stayed here with his grandparents.
Right.
What did you do after high school when you graduated?
I was riding a bike, but I was just riding around the community. And my dad and Earl were over on Foster Street, and I rode by. Hey, boy, you want to work? You want a job? Yeah. Meet me at my house tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
That's Burroughs.
Mr. Burroughs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This was his
2000
partner,
block.
my dad's partner. And 10 minutes to 8, I met him at his house. And never looked back. Yeah, he was a Tuskegee graduate.
What?
And that threw me head and shoulders above most of my peers.
Right.
And he was first class. He taught me the trade. My daddy was a carpenter, but he did not have the
Book knowledge.
that
He was self-taught.
Right. And so then
just
you
to be
became,
exposed. If you Miss So and So wants
Porch bill.
a step
Right.
fixed, go over there and fix that step. That you go and you get $1.50, whatever you could get, you know.
If you got anything.
Right.
And I was one of the few who stuck it out. And because a lot of like our friends went to college, and but I was the one. I was working here at home.
You advanced yourself by studying at
Yeah,
home.
that was,
Mechanical drawing.
oh yeah, I went down to Chicago Tech, and to the things that would advance me a little bit further than the hammer and nails.
Where does that get up and go get it attitude come from?
Your,
And,
your parents.
okay.
They had-
where do you think we lost it as a village? Where do you
hard
think?
and
They were driven because they came from driven people. Their parents did in 50 years what other people did in 200. They came from nothing. Had 7 years, 8 years tops, 12 if you think, you know, if you want to go with the books of Reconstruction. But out of the pot into the fire again. And by the 20th century, there were over 100 self-sustaining black communities in America. That's the attitude that made them. Now, what happened to us? We bought a lie.
explain.
If you give up yours, you can be a part of ours.
Hurt
Don't
the
get me
black
wrong.
community?
I am not totally against integration.
No, it's just the effort
Bring
was done.
something to the party.
Right.
Let us bring something. Don't tell me I can't bring what my grandparents gave me. They didn't get the benefit of going to the bank since 1936 to 1966. Blacks wasn't getting no loans like everybody else. We had a village. But in order to come with us,
You had to give up something.
you gotta leave some things behind. And
Since we couldn't go to banks, we loaned each other money and we financed our own ideas and our own movements
and community.
and community. And when integration came, we thought it was a big deal being able to go to the bank, sit down and get an account with the white bank. And this, in effect, killed the very village that brought us to strength. So that's just my own.
So there you were working, building houses, bettering yourself, learning more about the trade. And what did you do, Harriet?
I worked at Illinois Bell for 30 years.
Wow.
But you know what? Something happened that I never heard of. The supervisor at the telephone company came to see where I lived.
What?
I was about to say, oh boy.
Yeah.
She came to 2025. Mabel, her name was Mabel Kane. She was a supervisor. And she came to 2025 Dodge to see where I lived. And her question was, "This is your house?" I said, "No, this is my parents' house. I live with my parents." Oh. I was about, what, 20, 21?
Had that been her house, you don't
I
need
wouldn't have
my
been
job.
hired. I wouldn't have been hired.
And then the whole.
So do you think there's a difference between the attitudes of Lonnie and Bruce than in your generation?
I think there was a certain amount of pride.
How did you have to behave? What could you do? What couldn't you do?
Oh, boy.
If you were told to do something and you didn't want to do it and you have a funny look on your face, well, you lucky if your face wasn't knocked off.
Right.
You talk back. You didn't talk back to your parents. The way these kids do today, you wouldn't be living.
First of all, they were the parents.
They wouldn't put up with it.
We are in their house, and you dance to my music, and consequently, you learn to dance to their music. But at the same time, you were taking in feelings and behavior that you took on your own. You didn't dance to nobody else's music.
And when you raised your kids, did you raise them the same way your parents raised you?
You didn't know any different.
Yeah.
Yes, Lord. But the difference is, Nina, we verbalize more those differences we have with whites. I don't say that they didn't think it and feel it. There was an appreciation for our village.
You out in the street acting up, it was at your parents' house before you got there. They knew about it.
Oh boy.
And by the time you got home, you knew what you were going to get.
Yeah.
So talk about the whole idea that this was a village.
There was no idea. This is where we live.
And how has it changed?
We were neighbors. It was one big
Yeah,
family.
we were neighbors.
If you had a problem, it was
That's right.
everybody's problem.
We were neighbors.
And today, you don't even know your neighbors.
That's right.
To add to that, there was no homelessness.
No.
If someone found that you were down in the dumps and had problems, you were living in somebody's basement or a room
That's right.
and stacked up somewhere with and next to someone else.
Come here, boy.
There was love. There was a kinship.
Right.
Here's an example. My grandmother, during the First World War, she used to have teas. You remember Miss Cahayan?
Oh,
Yeah. Oh boy.
Miss Cahayan came from Armenia. She would bring people from Eastern Europe and a lot of Jewish women because y'all was with us. Weren't allowed in Wilmette, Winnetka, Kenilworth, Highland Park. She would have teas. They would do things together. There was true love. You understand what I'm saying?
back then, when I was coming along, they were moving houses. People, let's say in Wilmette or North Evanston, for whatever reason, going to sell. But we didn't live over there. They brought those houses to the ghetto. We went in and worked on those houses and put those houses together. Well, we not put them, if they were in bad shape, yes, we would put together.
So they really,
What did it look like when you saw a house being picked up? Did it?
Oh, that was normal.
And
Now, they had those great big trucks and also trailers, and they had timbers.
to roll on.
Yeah, you roll this house on, and you this is another thing, you learn how a house was built. You had timbers so long, depending on how big that house was, that determined how thick that timber would be. And the trucks, we had one house mover back then. That was Foster. He lived over on Dewey and Dewey and Payne. He and his daddy,
Yep.
they were the movers. Now, we didn't bother that house unless that house needed something to structurally hold it together. We didn't bother that house till it got to the foundation. Now the foundation is sitting there waiting. We had concrete people, we had bricklayers, we had those people who could build this, and they'd bring the house in. This big house over
2 houses over, the one I showed you.
two
Yeah.
houses. That was from down on Hinman, south of Dempster Street. Was it Hinman? But anyway, it was from South Evanston. We've got houses. Oh, there's the Hudson's house.
Right,
that
sure
one
did
came from over across the canal. That was another thing. They would have to go sometimes from up to Wilmette to where the railroad tracks were not quite.
You don't have to go as
You didn't
high
have-
up.
you didn't
or
have-
up.
hill.
You didn't have viaducts. You'd have to take that house up and go across and then come down Green Bay Road and then come up McCormick Boulevard.
so, how many houses do you think were moved?
Oh,
How many?
hundreds.
Oh, we got communities of houses moved in. Oh, it was,
And explain to me why they were moved.
People were selling them.
Yeah, right.
It's too cheap. It's good product that would be lost if it was demolished. This is a perfectly good farmhouse in a community that's no longer farming.
So it was only.
Family's dead.
And then, so it was white people's houses, but then African
Yes,
Americans bought
yes,
them?
yes. Of them, there's one down here, 2 doors over from the one that they moved in, that came out, you remember the one you bought, Ashcroft's house?
Mm-hmm.
They moved that house from Joliet. Poor whites who lost everything.
And somebody bought
It
them.
was the
African
cheapest
Americans.
way to get, to get the house.
And did it ever happen that there were houses that maybe there were African Americans living on the other side of Green Bay Road, and then people said, oh, you need to go live in the Fifth Ward?
I mean, no. But that, and then it wouldn't have probably been done here like that. It wouldn't have been overtly saying,
We want you out of
you
here.
you gotta go. There would have been tactics behind that. In fact, there might have been a benefactor that comes and say, hey, it's time for you to go. We got something for you over here. Because there were those people.
Right.
Man, you gotta
In the
go.
block that we lived in, there were 6 houses moved in the 2000 block of Dodge.
So normal.
when that house was jacked up, when they raised that house up, and that was another thing. You say jack, you think it's somebody putting
When I am
a jack under so and so.
Right, these was in round jacks to go round and round and screws in there.
Yeah, you got timbers, these great big timbers that I mentioned. Then they get under, and they have timbers. Then they have a hollow tube made of lumber. And they got screw jacks. That's what he's talking about. You put these in this box, a vertical box, and screw that house and raise that house up. And the truck
Can you imagine?
would have could come under on each side of the
Right back into it.
Put that wood under there and set it down.
And what year are we talking? Like what years was this? From what year to what year?
All their life when they were born.
These houses were
This
moving.
was they were the late 20s, early 30s. They was Evanston West Side was blowing up. My grandfather
This is the growth
he
of the
could
Fifth
work
Ward.
8 days a week at that time. And we talking the Depression.
Talk of what?
Right,
The Depression
is going on
Right.
at that time.
In the middle of the worst depression in the history of our country.
Right.
People were moving here in great numbers.
And my dad also, but like he worked at the gas station.
Mm-hmm.
He'd go to work, Kedzie, Fullerton and Kedzie. And
Oh, that was a story. Yeah.
and he was a grease monkey, and he would do that for regular income. But he'd do the other for part time. That would add to his regular income. And then it got to the place where the work was coming in, and it was his, and he let it go.
You had to be home when the lights,
Street lights came on.
street lights came on.
and then
And we had dinner together
the whole
Every
family.
every night.
Every night.
Yeah.
And then when you were growing up, how did that work?
Every night. We still have dinner together. I'll be 65 in 1 month. And
Wait, so who
5
do you
days.
have dinner together with?
that old man over there?
Every night.
Every night. So every night we lost a lot, but we still got
Retain them.
remnants, and we have.
But you know what? We never wanted for anything.
No, tell
We
me
didn't
about
have much, but my mom would fix breakfast. She says, I don't know what we're going to have for lunch. Lunchtime, we sat down and ate.
Had lunch, and wasn't no sandwiches.
No. Dinner time, I don't know what we're going to have. We had a full meal on that table. This was every night. So we didn't suffer for anything. We didn't know what it was to suffer. Our parents prepared for us. My dad worked down in Chicago. He worked long and hard. Then he came and started his carpentry work. He would bring his proposals to me. I'd type up his proposals. He was a carpenter at Ebenezer AME Church on Emerson Street. He took care of all of the work over there.
Did your mum prepare? And did
My
you-
mother was a cook.
Oh, she was a
could
cook.
go.
She was a cook. She from the beginning. We didn't have canned stuff all the time.
Oh.
Biscuits,
Oh,
Made from scratch.
made from scratch.
absolutely,
Everything was made from
absolutely.
she also was working for the people on
Up
the North
north.
Shore.
Good girl.
She could learn to
Stand
take
in
on
rib
new
roast.
things. This is how our diets are not limited to this. We ate everything.
They'd bring her home in the evening, and she told me one day on her way home, they were driving her. She says, "Oh Lord, I hope that kitchen is clean." That was my job. I had cleaned up the kitchen, and she was so pleased. But we had good parents. They were good to us.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And did you guys go to church? Like,
You had to go to church if you stayed in,
Oh, if
that,
you
in
stayed
that
in
house.
that house, you went to church.
and what church was it?
Ebenezer on
Ebenezer.
1109 Emerson.
And my daddy was a
He was trustee.
officer there.
He was an officer.
He was trustee.
I was a trustee.
And did you go to church? Were you raised going to church?
Yes. I used to sit in the church and look up in the choir and see my grandfather. Wow, 4 boys. My father had 4 boys, 4 sons. I'm the number 2 son.
So how many grandkids do you have all together?
He's got 27.
27.
And how many kids do you have?
I have one son.
One son.
And where's he?
He's in Springfield.
And what does he do?
He's retired.
I'd like to ask you two a question. If you were to be able to do it any way you want, how would you repair this? How would you rebuild this village that you were brought up in? What would you do?
That is hard.
That you first of all have to get the people's attention. That's difficult today.
everybody's doing their thing, going their separate way. You know, and it's hard to get people together. You have to be in their circle.
Yeah, you got to be in that clique.
And most of the time, there must be an overriding reason for them to help you, not just
Because they care.
those spiritual values or that they care, and that's been lost. Their parents could create a village because everybody in the village was running from the same
Right.
thing. You know.
Don't you think those same variables exist with us right now?
Yes, they do, but
We're
they're
all
not
running from
accepted. They're not accepted as such because I can disappear from the black village and never look
Won't
back.
be missed.
We won't be missed because of natural changes, integration in its best sense of the word, affording me the ability to go it alone, to meet success out here as an individual within reason. I don't get the privileges that some others do. You know, I'm not angry about that. I'm
You're
in
blessed.
awe of where I come from, and I want to try to get it back. And that question you asked, that's a very, very difficult question to answer because even for me, it boils down to, you got to get their attention. You got to get their interest.
I just remember the safety that I felt. I can't even put it in words. How safe I felt when you guys ran this community. I knew that if I was in trouble, I could go to any house, I could go any place. I knew that I was trusted because somebody knew who my family was, where I belonged. Someone would look out for me. Someone would. I mean, I remember going.
What is that guy's name, Dr. Spock? The society of the world, or whatever you want to call it, came into your house and
Right. They started
dictated
being the parents.
how parenting, or what was acceptable as parenting. It sent a bad signal to people who weren't prepared. Here's an example why. Here's a group of people who've been beat down since day one. And unfortunately, they've adopted the ways of slavery and those things within slavery as their own.
Adjustment tools.
And yes, adjustment tools, whipping, whatever you want to call it. All right, Dr. Spock comes along and says, no, that's for heathens, don't do that. Don't whip your kids. All right? So now, 5-6 years later, we got some kids coming up that haven't seen discipline. Their parents are buying it. And they're called to school because Johnny slapped Sally. And the mother comes in and cusses the principal out and the teacher because they're backing their kid. Before, to be called to school was an embarrassment.
You're right.
You would hide under your desk if
Right.
your mama came in that school because you know she gonna dog walk you
Right.
straight up out of here.
Right.
But now, they said, Mom came with me, Mama, that man cussed at me. You what?
You're right.
So now we're in this upheaval. There's no direction and no correction.
I miss walking down the street, speaking to people by name.
You leave home, like he said, go to downtown Davis Street, you knew everybody
On the
that
way.
you passed. Now you can walk down Emerson Street or
And they don't
wherever
look
and
at
you don't
you.
even know them.
Even on your street. You remember how on Mother's Day when you ride past for Mother's Day, come get your flowers for Mother's Day.
In Evanston.
Right there
Right
on
here,
Church.
right on
I mean
Church
Emerson
Drive.
and Dodge. That was just As a little
Mother's
kid,
Day was special.
as a little kid, it was just, oh my God.
I just remember them hats. I remember on Sunday and all these women and all these hats. I remember this like a parade of hats. Hats and feathers.
Hats and feathers.
What I miss the most is the safety. There's a safety factor that I was never policed by police. I was policed by a community. I knew that Mr. Hunter, if Mr. Hunter saw me doing something, I didn't have to worry about it. But ain't no police on my block. The police are the men of my block. They don't play with me.
It's familiarity, it's comfort, it's safety, it's being a part of, identifying with,
And that being a part of is a big part of even the violence. I was so connected to this overall thing that was larger than me. I knew better than taking a gun out in my yard and go out and just shoot it in the air would have caused everybody in the neighborhood would have said, Mr. Logan's grandson was out there shooting. And it would have been a mess.
And now?
Now, that people are scared to even say, they don't even want to confront
you
children.
sure don't want to call the police.
They don't want to confront children or even call the police, and then the police don't know the kids, so it's just a disjointed village, which is my real want is to try to find a way to rebuild that village. But I want to spend my life trying to figure it out. It was too beautiful. It was just too beautiful. The smells and the sounds. I remember walking down Holden Court and literally I could tell which lady was cooking.
Fried chicken.
Right. Who's frying, who's baking, whose house I'm stopping by. Oh my goodness.
And families had gardens,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
which was a blessing, you know. You didn't have to worry about going to the store for a lot of stuff. But what my folks had, my neighbor wouldn't have, so they would switch with each other.
Right.
And do people not have gardens anymore?
Oh, not
No.
really.
Why do you think?
There's no feeling about the accomplishment of going and digging in the yard, the redeeming that you get
From
when
watching
you
something
do this and then get some fruits of your labor.
There's
No,
a family that moved down the street from me,
Yeah.
and there's no room for a garden. So what they did, they planted in the front yard.
And everybody looking at them
I
like,
look at them strange. And it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't pop up this coming year, because there's no place.
The fruit trees, when I'm a kid, we go all the way around the neighborhood getting grapes, getting peaches, getting apples from whoever had a fruit tree growing in their yard.
We had apples,
pear.
we had grapevines,
Grapevines everywhere.
Yeah,
we had, in fact, my
Strawberries,
dad had a
peanuts.
farm.
Pear.
Pear tree,
2 pear trees.
2 pear trees, exactly.
yeah, we did. An apple tree.
An apple tree, cherry tree,
Cherry tree.
grapes, gooseberries,
Yeah.
Yep.
blackberries.
Rhubarb.
Black raspberries.
And talk about,
How that would work with me would be first making connection with our people. There should be a connection with our elders. We should know who our elders are in our community.
Right.
Those elders should be able to pick up a phone with somebody who cares and says, you know what, my gutter is spilling over. I need my gutters cleaned.
Right. And there should be
There should be something in place for that.
Right.
To take the stuff out of their basements, to help them where they need help.
Yeah, right.
All right. We got a whole bunch of folks coming home from penitentiary. We got a whole nobody as tradespeople. It's time to bring trades back. It's time to show the kids who want to. Because let's be real. If this village is rebuilt, it's only going to be a few. Because look at history. Only a few of anything does something.
Right.
We're going to lose a lot. But I want to grab those few who do want to do something. We need to care for one another.
Okay, right.
We need to open our arms and heal.
Right. And even simple things. There shouldn't be no elder out in front of their house shoveling their snow. I can't imagine if my grandfather was to see me watching this woman out front with a shovel, shoveling snow, and I was to walk by and not do nothing.
I mean, I know that you went through all kinds of stuff in your life. Do you feel like all that time you were respecting your elders?
I was running, and I was running. I was lost. I was lost because I didn't get the mentorship I needed. And I say that because he gave me everything he could.
Yeah.
I come up real good. But there's a component in my existence, and I'm going to use some of his words, from the pulpit to the pool room. My family consists of
A little bit of everything.
all of it. My grandfather was a hustler. Their father was an outstanding carpenter. My grandmother was an illiterate common worker.
Your
Yeah.
mom's mom.
My mom's mom. She was light enough to pass for white. In fact, did so that we could get clothes from places we couldn't have got them from.
Boy, she was something.
Woo! She was an angel. That's my heart.
Yeah.
Their mom was our rock. She was my moral compass. She set me straight. She gave me the character to wield the stick that I got from the other side of my family. And as I look back over my life, I have no regrets. I have a lot of remorse for all that I've destroyed and hurt. All that I didn't do to live up to this guy's dream. I have remorse, but I have not one regret because now I'm in the position to do something. I live it.
And
I give from
back.
my heart. I'm right here in the neighborhood trying to make it right, and I'm going to do that till I die. So I'm grateful to the simplicity of where I come from. But at the same time, I'm hurt because I'm up against some serious odds,
Yeah.
and ain't no bunch of people running to hell.
I'll be honest. I went on a party in about 1971. I got back in like 209. And the only reason I was allowed to do this is because my grandparents and parents had worked so hard and they gave me such a strong platform to stand on. I didn't have to worry about anything. When I was hungry, I disrespected that. And I used it in a way that I shouldn't have.
How can you not have it? It's never been addressed. It's never truly been admitted. We're in a place where, in the history of the world, where do people who lose a war get glorified by statue? All right? So, yeah, there's some wounds. Where's the 40 acres? Where's the mule? So, yeah, I think there's a little residual.
Do you feel the same?
Absolutely. You know, we've come a long way. It's really hard to say. Looking at the situation we're in now, you wonder where we're going to end up. And I never ever thought I'd see the day that we're living in now. And I don't know where it's going to end. This administration.
I talked to a couple of young guys at Fleetwood the other day. They are so afraid of
What's going to happen
what's
to
gonna happen
them?
to them. They don't know. It's really a bad place to be.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's really sad.
I can't address that because I've never been involved with anything like that.
I spent a lot of time avoiding being a part of.
So did you never have a situation like your father did, some kind of equivalent of the way he had to step off the sidewalk
No.
in your life?
No. That just wouldn't, I mean, you have very few people would buck me. And I tried to do what I had to do and do it in such a way that
Race wasn't equality.
Respected.
Race wasn't part of it.
This is the way it's done by anybody.
Question. Does it have to have happened to me? Because I witnessed something at 4 years old, 5 years old that has forever stuck with me. My grandmother used to work for Northwestern. And they used to go into the building right there on the corner of Sherman and Emerson, punch in and punch out and change from her room cleaning clothes. And we were there late. It was like 7. She should have gotten done by 6:30. And as she was coming out, we were sitting in the car. My mother's sitting there, right? She says, "Oh, Lord, here it goes." Blacks had to be west of Sherman
Right, at a certain time.
Oh, yeah.
by 6:30.
When you get out of down there.
If you didn't, you get your head whipped.
Right.
And I saw that happen. The
They hands on
police
you,
come up
right.
to a guy. He was from Chicago. He didn't know.
Right.
He's on the east side of Sherman Avenue, walking aimlessly. And the police officer politely pulled over, got out, not put your hands up, not anything, but immediately started pushing him.
But
And the other one started wailing with that stick.
And you were 4.
I was 4 or 5 years old with my mom. Fast forward, and I'm 17 years old. I'm in Arkansas, going to college, and we're going over the bridge to Itabena, Mississippi, to Mississippi Valley State to watch a football game, and a guy in the car had stolen my pistol. He didn't get the clip. We get stopped on the Mississippi Bridge, 4:30 in the afternoon, and the guy finds the pistol and strips us all to our drawers on that bridge that afternoon. I'm gonna find that clip, and then all y'all go to jail. Well, that's the only thing that kept us from jail, because the clip wasn't there. But yeah, that's because we were black.
my experience is actually here in Evanston. My grandmother is about 4'1". You know, and she is Forrest Powell's younger sister. And okay, we're in the Jewels on Chicago. Is that Chicago Avenue? And my grandmother is putting her groceries on the cart to be added up, and this white lady kind of gives her the elbow like she should move. Now my grandmother's a very feisty short woman. She's not playing. Right, and the white lady says, "Listen, nigga lady, you need to move." My grandmother reaches up and grabs her by the hair. Now, you know, I'm about 6 or 7 years old. My grandmother's like this big, and she's in there wailing on this woman. And I'm literally like, as a little kid, I'm going like, "Oh God, what do I do? What do I do?" But it looked like every single thing that ever bothered her came out on that poor lady. I actually ended up feeling sorry for the white lady because it was like she had a tiger on her head. Well, I've had white women hit their locks on me, but I tell you, that happened to me on Church Street. A white lady hit her lock, so I pulled up on the other side and hit my lock. You know, like, okay, let's just lock each other in. That's the only thing that ever happened to me.
Doors, elevators, sit down I can bet you this. I ain't never had nobody sit down on the train next to me going into the city, except a black person. Never have I ever had a white person sit down next to me on the L. And I'm 64 years old. I've been riding since I was 10. There's only one race, and that's the human race. I cannot find in me the hate that I've been given to give to someone else.
This group of people I come from will sing about their pain. They'll sing about. I can't even imagine if that same amount of power had been used to hate what kind of black population you would have.
And especially thinking about that song, "Lift Every Voice and Sing."
Oh my
Lift
God.
every voice and
Lift
sing
every-
till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. May our rejoicings rise high as the listening skies. May it resound loud as the rolling seas. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Where our fathers sighed. We have come over.
My mother and the firstborn.
Yeah,
We point to them.
this is too soft
My
for me to sit
grandfather,
on.
my grandmother,
Not for
Ella,
my back.
and this is Arthur Jr.
What's this behind your back?
I need some more.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the